You know, this offseason got me thinking. We lost Payne. We lost Hawkins. We lost Ola-Joseph. Is the transfer portal broken?
Hey,
You are Locked On Golden Gophers.
No matter what we're going to do here, we're just going to keep rowing.
Your daily podcast on the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
However it turns out, we're just going to keep rowing.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
We're just going to keep rowing, and keep rowing.
What is up, y'all? You are listening to Locked On Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name's Kane Rob, host of the podcast, former collegiate football video coordinator and recruiting assistant, here to talk Golden Gophers with you each and every day of the week, Monday through Friday. Today, we're talking about the transfer portal because the Gophers have felt it time and time again. You're talking about, especially on the basketball side of things, folks, you've got Carrington, Ola-Joseph, Payne, Hawkins, so many key players turning the entire program that had so much promise, that looked to be on the cusp of a tournament run, getting to a tournament, making some noise. Heck, Tom Izzo even said if this team gets their players back, they could be the number one team in the Big Ten. Well, they lost a lot of players. They've got a few coming back. The hopes and dreams are hanging on Cam Christie coming back, but overall, it begs the question, is the portal too unhinged? Is it broken? Does it need to be dramatically fixed? I'm going to dive into that today. Then we're going to talk about former Gophers who have found new homes of those names I listed. And finally, we're going to talk about names that I would love for the Gophers to prioritize in this transfer portal, trying to get things back on track. So be sure to hit subscribe over on YouTube so you don't miss any future Gophers content moving forward. But let's dive in, because has this new portal rules gone too far? It seems like they've opened it up even further. And who asked for this? Nobody asked for the portal to be open even further. They're making it not only so schools can get involved in the NIL process with little regulations, but there are no regulations on moves. You've got players that are like, okay, I can get more money next year. And you know what? If I do good, I might as well go in the portal and see who at least recruits me and offers me some more NIL. And if I can get more, why not go out that way? It is turning into mercenary basketball. It is turning into the point where it's not really giving players the opportunity to find a new home if it wasn't a fit, but it's giving players the opportunity to be like, yo, screw this. I'm going whoever pays me the most. Hopefully I ball out so I can get to my pro aspirations. But if I don't, at least I made good money along the way. And you know what? If it's set up like that, it's hard to blame student athletes for that, but it makes it a lot less enjoyable, a lot less fun, a lot less passionate for the fan bases. And if you lose the fan bases, if you lose the entertainment aspect and people enjoying it, aside from your blue buds who can afford to pay for every single player, you're going to have like a 10 team league, and everybody else is going to tap out, and the dollars are going to drop, and the interest is going to drop, and who knows, you might not be able to field an NCAA March Madness tournament if we can't get a handle on this soon, because it's just going to be, I fell in love with this player. I love what they stood for. I love how much they grew. I love how much they developed. Oh, and they left our team in a year. Oh, they stayed for 2 years. Oh, but they left. It's going to be sickening for a lot of these fan bases that used to enjoy this college basketball sport more than the pros itself because of the development, because you knew a player could be here for 3 to 4 years and you could really get invested, and your kids could get to know them and they could be a part of the community and so on and so forth. But if they're jumping new schools every single year, then you don't get the Dawson Garcia story. Then you don't get the Tyler Wall with Wisconsin story. And the fact that I'm even bringing up a Badger and how it was cool to see a player develop within a program and give so much to a program and see that program and the fan base show love in return, you won't get that moving forward. It will die off, plain and simple. So right now I ask, why is the NCAA making even easier to get out? Now you're getting to the point where as long as you are in good academic standing, you can transfer at any point and still be eligible to play the next year. Who does that help? Who does that help at all? Because it's not just the fans who are getting sick of it. The coaches. We're seeing a burnout wave of coaches. You're seeing John Calipari was on the verge of, oh, do I want to be in this? How long do I want to be in this? And now all of a sudden he's getting a bigger NIL budget with a new school, and he has a little bit of interest. You see Coach K, he got out of this as soon as things started to switch. You see different coaches in the basketball landscape that are like, look, I don't know if I'm trying to do this. Even Tom Izzo is questioning, look, I don't know how long I'm going to be around for this if this is how the game is going. We have to find a way to get regulation into this transfer portal. Stop getting used to having a player actually build through a program for 4 years, but rather get used to a roster reloading nearly every year or two at max. That doesn't sound like fun from a coaching perspective or from a fan base perspective. And you know what? Deep down, I don't even know if it would be fun for a player's perspective besides seeing the checks roll in. And if you're not getting the checks, it would be frustrating to be teammates where you keep losing these guys that are supposedly your brothers and you're building this chemistry. And all of a sudden they're like, yo, I appreciate what I did here, but I got to go get my opportunity. And you can't blame them for it. But at the same time, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't seem as prominent in football for the sport right now. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen because it definitely happens, but football, you have 80 to 100 kids on a roster. So when 10 to 15 kids leave, there's still a ton of returning names. There's still a ton of hope. There's still a ton of you can kind of predict how things are going, and then it's kind of next man up mentality, and that's different. Now, if you lose your 10 to 15 stars every year, yeah, you're feeling the impact and it stinks, but you have more things waiting in the wings that have been progressing and learning and being in this system to maybe step up and still make up for it. In basketball, where you only have 13 roster spots, 10 to 15 players on a team, and 6 key players leave, that is damaging to an entire program. That is damaging to the foundation, and it makes it so some programs could die off in a matter of a couple of years. That is a huge detriment and a massive impact. So why can't the NCAA find a middle ground? Why can't it do a combination? Why can't you offer one free transfer at any point in your collegiate career where you are immediately eligible? And if you immediately transfer again, you have to sit out a year because you shouldn't be able to hop from team to team to team. And people always make the argument, but coaches can leave whenever they want, and coaches aren't leaving year to year to year. If they're a good coach, they're still going to be locked in for 2, maybe 3 years. You still got to prove it a little bit. And then if you make the jump from a low major to a high major, that was more of what we were seeing at the player level anyway. But now you see star players going from a St. John's opportunity to a Wisconsin opportunity to a Kansas opportunity. It's like, yo, this is getting out of hand. So if you immediately transfer again, why can't you have to sit out a year? You have a redshirt year anyway, so why not be able to use that redshirt year, but you have to sit out? How much do you really want it? Then on top of that, if you have a coach that's fired or something, then yes, you can transfer and have immediate eligibility because you came to play for that coach. It makes sense. But what doesn't make sense is bouncing year after year after year to school after school after school. And it's just a bunch of crap. And it's going to make this sport, this landscape of college sports, especially in the basketball realm, it's going to make it die off. And some people might think that's dramatic, but it is. Now, if you're a Kentucky, if you're a Duke, if you're a North Carolina, a Kansas, or what have you, yeah, you're probably not going to die off because you can afford to buy every single one of these star players. But when you are a Minnesota, when you are a Maryland, when you are can't think of one off the top, DePaul or something, those teams are going to start to get dwindled, and they're going to start to get to the point where all of a sudden these athletic programs aren't going to fill enough seats because the fans are losing interest, and you're going to have to start cutting programs. Is that the goal? Is that what we want? So the NCAA has to get this figured out. Now, if you take this combination, this setup gives you a free transfer whenever in case of no opportunity available, in case you're not a system fit, but it also discourages portal hoppings back to back to back to back to back and just using it solely as a cash grab. So overall, it also might give some stability back to the fans and not making them want to start giving up on this sport as a whole. What are your thoughts? I want to hear what you have to say down in the comments below. Let me know if you have any other fixes for the idea, but overall, what needs to change with this transfer portal? Let me know in the comments below. But we're going to talk about Gophers who found new homes, especially Pharrel, Payne, Josh Ola-Joseph, and also who is after Elijah Hawkins. We're jumping into all of that coming up next. First, I got to talk to you about the one and the only. That is none other than our friends over at Gametime, because Gametime is the spot to be when it comes to getting tickets to events, because they have the best hands down last minute deals. You can save up to 60% off of buying last minute tickets for sports, for concerts, for comedy, for theater, you name it. They've got you covered with last minute deals. And on top of that, they have zone deals. So you can save even more when you choose a section and let Gametime choose the seats. On top of that, my favorite by far, hands down, the best feature of the Gametime app is the all-in pricing. You can toggle this feature and all of a sudden you don't have to worry about getting to your shopping cart at the end to check out and all of a sudden it went up by $80, $100 because of these hidden fees and what have you. No, Gametime can make it so you can sort with that total upfront and no surprise fees at checkout. So definitely check it out. They've also got seat views, the lowest price guarantee, and Gametime ticket coverage, which is your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the app today, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the Gametime app, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And while we're at it, we got to talk about our boys over at FanDuel, because FanDuel is the spot to be. It is America's #1 sportsbook for a reason. And now it's time for the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. If you haven't been tapped in, you are missing out. The buzzer beater from Jamal Murray to cash and crash the Lakers. That was a big one. They're up 2-0 now. Could they get the sweep? You can go make that call over at FanDuel. And on top of that, baseball's in full swing, so you can go to FanDuel to be your place to bet on every single game. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That means if you go and you place a bet, win or lose, you're getting $150 in bonus bets. So you can bet on everything you want, from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks and more, over on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, Gophers fans, let's talk about the new homes for former Gophers. First, we're kicking it off with Josh Ola-Joseph. He ended up making his commitment, and he is playing for Cal. That's right. He's playing for former Minnesota Timberwolf Mark Madsen, who was the coach with Cal. He was in his first year last year with a Cal team that went 13-19 in his first year as the head coach. Prior to that, he had been at Utah State, I believe, and helped build that program back up. Now, Josh Ola-Joseph is one of 3 transfers coming in for Cal, including BJ Omont, who you have heard on this show if you listen to Locked On Golden Gophers, because initially he was a player that I really hoped Minnesota would look towards in the portal. He is a guy who played his prep high school career in Minnesota. He played at the University of North Dakota the last 2 years, and he averaged 16 points last year. He can get it done from scoring. He's long, he's lanky, he can be a defensive threat, and that's similar to what Josh Ola-Joseph brings to the floor. Super athletic, he's long, he can be versatile. And you know what? A lot of Gophers fans were confused on why his minutes dropped off, because you saw the athleticism, you saw the burst, you saw the hops, and you saw the potential that was oozing out of Josh Ola-Joseph. But all of a sudden, he lost time, he lost minutes, and then he lost the will to want to be a Gopher. So overall, Josh Ola-Joseph has the opportunity to get back on track with Cal in another power conference. And we've seen Josh Ola-Joseph can score at the power conference level. When he was given minutes, he was getting into the double digits and scoring fairly consistently, and he was doing decent on the rebounds, although he could have been doing better there. And maybe his effort and lack of it on the boards is the reason he started to lose tick. But at the same time, you got to keep your guys happy with some opportunities when they can clearly play at this level. So we'll see if he clicks over in Cal. I think that's a good get for them. They also added a center from Vandy, so their little transfer class is looking decent for a Cal team that's looking to bounce back. Other places that Josh Ola-Joseph heard from included Nebraska, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and Texas Tech. Now, Pharrel Payne, the big man, the one that cut deep when he hit the portal because people didn't see it coming, although that news has been basically replaced by Elijah Hawkins, but Pharrel Payne did make his commitment to Texas A&M with Coach Buzz Williams, a great basketball coach at the collegiate level, so I don't blame him there. Also committed, like I said, he committed to Texas A&M. He's a Big Ten player, but he has another player from the transfer portal that committed who is also from the Big Ten, in a small forward from Nebraska, CJ Wilcher. So overall, those are two players in their transfer class so far. Now, Pharrel Payne's 247 transfer ranking had increased up to a top 50 player in the transfer portal rankings, 47th overall, just behind Robbie Avila from Indiana State, who ended up following his coach over to St. Louis. So he also received interest, Pharrel Payne did, from Oregon, from Texas, from Indiana, from Louisville, and Nebraska, just to name a few big-time programs looking at him. He definitely could be an impact player for the Aggies next season. They could have used a front court player to pair with Coleman over at Texas A&M, and those two can be a nice balance, a nice combo. Pharrel Payne can play the center, Coleman can play the power forward. That being said, Texas A&M was number one in the country in total rebounding last year, and now they add Pharrel Payne, who can be a beast on the boards. And it's going to be tough to get rebounds in the SEC against this Texas A&M team, a team that was the number 9 seed in the tournament last year and ended up winning their first round game against Nebraska, but then ultimately losing in the second round to Houston. Now, money has been good to Texas A&M. They got that good old oil money down there. Texas A&M is one of the highest spenders in football and one of the biggest pools of NIL in football. I'm sure it kind of carries over a little bit to basketball as well with the boosters they have. So Pharrel Payne getting that Texas A&M money, it's looking nice for him. And then the final name, we got to talk about Elijah Hawkins. He hasn't officially stated where he's going next year, but I think it's starting to become a little bit clearer. He's getting interest from Kentucky, from Tennessee, from Creighton, from South Carolina, all big name schools. South Carolina's on the come up recently. So among many others, but don't let this fool you. I am fairly certain this dude is going to Kentucky. When Kentucky came calling, I think that is what got him interested in hitting the portal. Now, wherever he goes, I'm sure he is about to get paid regardless, but we'll keep you posted on where he ultimately lands up, but I would be remiss if he didn't end up in Kentucky. I would be pretty shocked. Now, what we're going to talk about to close today's show is names for Minnesota to look into ASAP. Now, are these realistic names? Maybe not. Some would say probably not, but I think the Gophers should at least take a swing. We'll also talk about one player who visited the Gophers very recently, coming from Oregon. We're going to jump into that to close up today's show, coming up next. First, we got to talk to you about the app that you love, or you should love if you haven't gotten into it already, and that is none other than Monopoly Go. Because, guys, I need y'all to listen up for this huge announcement. I track the leaderboards all the time, keeping my eyes on the score and putting my heart into it all because this game is fun, and I'm super pumped to announce that I have made it into the leaderboards. I'm getting ready to take it to the top. Now, obviously, I'm talking about Monopoly Go, and you've probably heard of it because it's been downloaded by 150 million people, 150 million times it has been downloaded. And it's a great twist on the mobile classic Monopoly, where you can play anywhere, anytime. You can explore hundreds of Monopoly boards from Las Vegas to Camelot to the moon, all while raking in a huge fortune. You can charge rent on iconic properties just like the classics, or you can charge your friends rent. On top of that, you can go after the Monopoly money by pulling bank heists. You can take it wrecking balls to your friends' landmarks and so much more. But my favorite part is the leaderboards, where you can see who's the Monopoly tycoon and who's gone bankrupt. So get yourself on the charts. Download the Monopoly Go app now for free over on the App Store or the Google Play Store. All right, Gophers fans, let's talk about some names I would love for the Gophers to go after in the transfer portal. First off, I want to mention a name that has visited the Gophers, although I'm not really sure he turns the needle for me personally. That is Oregon transfer guard Brennan Rigsby. He is visiting with the Minnesota program. Now, he played for the Oregon Ducks. Rigsby averaged 5.8 points, 2.6 rebounds last year as a junior. He played in 35 games and made 13 starts, averaging 22 minutes a game. But I don't know if he really turns the needle for me. I don't know if he just needs more opportunity, or if it's kind of a hopefully we can get some minutes from him off of the bench and be an effective player in that front. But I think we need someone with some gusto. We need someone with some high ceiling for this Gophers team to really take it to the next level, because I love that Dawson Garcia is back. I love that Parker Fox back. I love that Mike Mitchell Jr. is back. I'm hopeful that Cam Christie will be back, but we need another player to help them take it to the next level. I think one name that stands out to me is Desmond Claude, point guard from Xavier, who is 6'6", so he's got the size. He averaged 16.6 points per game, 4.2 rebounds per game, 3.2 assists per game. Now, he doesn't shoot the three ball efficiently, but he can score in a hurry, and he is recently in the portal. So although this Elijah Hawkins news has kind of put us a step behind the eight ball, I think he's a name that if the Gophers got super aggressive and you can try to get him on campus, you know that the opportunity is there for him to have starter minutes from jump as a point guard. Another point guard in the portal I would be interested in is Kirk Kriisa. If you recognize that game, he played with Arizona. He could get hot in a hurry as well. He scored, and he could be kind of one of those players that put up some crazy numbers, especially from the three-point line in certain games, although his consistency in scoring wasn't always a flat line. It was kind of up and down. So overall, he was a hooper with Arizona for a minute. He was recently playing with West Virginia, but he definitely can have some issues at times, maybe get a little hot-headed. But that being said, this would be taking a swing, which we would love to see from Coach Ben Johnson and the staff. He averaged 11 points per game last year and 4.7 assists per game. So he still can facilitate and distribute while also being a decent scorer. And he doesn't have to be your lead scorer with Dawson Garcia back in tow, and hopefully, fingers crossed, Cam Christie back in tow. Now, that being said, he shot 42.4% from deep, so it should help bring up that three-point shooting percentage a little bit. He averaged 4 to 5 assists per game over the last 3 years and 9 to 11 points per game over the last 3 years as well. He's definitely a name I would love to see in the maroon and gold, although I'm not sure how realistic it is. And then finally, a name that I wanted to bring up was William Kyle III. He played at South Dakota State University. Now, he sounds super interested in Nebraska. Maybe it's already a done deal, as he was making a second visit to their campus, but he's young. He's still got 2+ years of eligibility left, I believe. He's 6'8", and he was just playing at South Dakota State, averaging 13.1 points per game, 6.6 rebounds per game, and 1.6 blocks per game. Super long, athletic, power forward type player, and it would feel so good to steal one back from Nebraska after they stole Andrew Morgan from the Gophers. So overall, those were 3 names I definitely wanted to mention here. Let me know if there are other names you think the Gophers should consider or are in consideration with to fill the voids left on this Gophers roster. I want to hear your thoughts below in the comments, but until next time, I'm going to see you tomorrow where we'll talk some football. Row the boat, Sky Uma, go Gophers as always, and please don't forget to hit subscribe.